The wedding ring was still warm when I found it in my jacket pocket. I hadn't worn that jacket since the Seraphina cruise 18 months ago, the same cruise where Maya and David Chen disappeared without a trace on their honeymoon. The same cruise where I watched them dance under the Mediterranean stars, their laughter echoing across the deck like a promise the sea would soon swallow whole. But the ring changed everything. Because carved inside the band, in letters so small I needed a magnifying glass to read them, were 3 words that made my blood turn to ice: they're still watching. 18 months earlier Maya Rodriguez then, stood at the bow of the Seraphina, her wedding dress billowing in the warm breeze like captured sunlight. The cruise ship was a floating palace, all marble and crystal, carrying 300 passengers through the sapphire waters between Barcelona and Rome. She and David had saved for 3 years for this moment, this perfect beginning to their forever. Mrs. Chen, David whispered against her ear, his arms encircling her waist. I like the sound of that. Maya laughed, the sound pure and unguarded. At 28, she was a pediatric nurse who still believed in fairy tales. David, 31, was an accountant who'd never taken a risk in his life until he proposed to Maya on a whim during a rainy Tuesday in Cleveland. They were ordinary people living an extraordinary moment, unaware that someone was watching them from the shadows of the upper deck. I was that someone. Elena Vasquez, marine biologist turned travel blogger, documenting my second chapter after a messy divorce. I'd been filming the sunset when I caught them in my frame, so beautiful, so innocent, so perfectly unaware of what was already in motion. Through my camera lens, I saw him first. Marcus Webb, the ship's entertainment coordinator, his eyes fixed on Maya with an intensity that made my skin crawl. In his early 40s, Webb had the kind of practiced charm that masked something darker underneath. I'd noticed him watching several female passengers, but with Maya, it was different. Obsessive. What I didn't know then was that Webb had been watching Maya long before she stepped foot on the Seraphina. Her social media, her nursing shifts, her favorite coffee shop, he'd been planning this encounter for months. Present-day Detective Sarah Morrison slides the evidence bag across the table toward me. Inside is a water-damaged journal, its pages swollen and stained with salt. We found this washed up on a beach in Malta 3 weeks ago. The handwriting matches Maya Chen's. My hands shake as I read the visible entries. Day 3, David thinks I'm being paranoid, but I swear someone's been in our cabin. My perfume bottle was moved, and there's a smell I don't recognize, something sweet and cloying, like overripe fruit. Day 4, the entertainment coordinator, Marcus, offered to give me a private tour of the ship. When I declined, his smile never wavered, but his eyes. God, his eyes went completely cold. David was at the casino. I felt so alone. Day 5, found a photo of myself sleeping slipped under our door. In the photo, someone had drawn a heart around my face in red ink. I'm terrified, but David says I'm overreacting. Maybe he's right. Maybe, the entry cuts off there, the rest lost to water damage. But Detective Morrison has more. We also found this, she says, producing a memory card. Waterproof case, recovered from the same location. The timestamp puts these videos during the Chen's cruise. The first video is shaky, clearly shot in secret. It shows Maya walking alone through the ship's corridors late at night, unaware she's being followed. The second shows their cabin door, with timestamp after timestamp of her coming and going. The third makes my stomach lurch, Maya in their bathroom, clearly filmed through some kind of hidden camera. But it's the final video that changes everything. It's Marcus Webb, talking directly into the camera, his face illuminated by the strange, greenish glow of the ship's emergency lighting. Day 6, he says, his voice calm and controlled. The ceremony will happen tonight. She's been chosen, and she'll understand soon enough. They all do, in the end. The sea calls to the beautiful ones, and who are we to deny its hunger? Behind him, barely visible in the darkness, other figures move. Ship's crew members, their faces painted with strange symbols. And at the center of it all, a shrine of sorts, photos of women, dozens of them, all passengers from previous cruises. All missing. The night of day 6, 18 months ago I couldn't sleep. Something about the ship felt wrong that night, too quiet, like the ocean itself was holding its breath. I stepped onto my balcony and saw them, figures moving across the lower deck in the moonlight, carrying something toward the ship's stern. I grabbed my camera, zooming in through the darkness. Maya was there, but she wasn't struggling. Her movements were sluggish, dreamlike. Drugged. David was nowhere to be seen. The crew members, 6 of them, including Webb, formed a circle around what looked like an altar made from ship equipment and draped with red fabric. They were chanting something in a language I couldn't identify, their voices rising and falling with the rhythm of the waves. Webb stood at Maya's side, his hand on her shoulder, speaking words I couldn't hear. She nodded slowly, as if in a trance, and began walking toward the ship's rail. That's when I saw David. He was tied to a chair near the stern, his mouth gagged, his eyes wide with terror. Blood trickled from a wound on his head. He'd fought them, I realized. He'd tried to save her. I should have called for help. Should have screamed, alerted security, done something. But I was frozen, watching this nightmare unfold through my camera lens like it was happening to someone else. Maya climbed onto the rail, her wedding dress now stained with something dark. Webb raised his arms to the sky, and his voice carried across the water, "The sea accepts this offering. The covenant is renewed." But then something went wrong. David broke free from his restraints, adrenaline giving him impossible strength. He lunged forward, grabbing Maya around the waist, pulling her back from the edge. The crew members rushed toward them, but in the chaos, all 3 figures tumbled over the rail together. The splash was lost in the sound of the waves. I stood there in shock, my camera still recording, as Webb and his followers searched the water with flashlights. After 20 minutes, they gave up. The sea had claimed all 3. Or so I thought. Present day, there's something else, Detective Morrison says, her voice barely above a whisper. We found Marcus Webb. My heart stops. Found him where? Alive. In a psychiatric facility in Greece. He was picked up 6 months ago, rambling about sea gods and sacred covenants. When we showed him the photos of the Chens, he started laughing. Said we were asking the wrong questions. She slides another evidence bag across the table. Inside is a brass key, green with ocean corrosion. Webb gave us this. Said it would explain everything. It opens a safety deposit box in Malta, the same island where the journal washed up. Inside the box, we found something that changes the entire case. The safety deposit box contained a single item, a wedding album. But not Maya and David's wedding album. This one was older, the photos sepia-toned and formal. The bride looked exactly like Maya, same dark hair, same delicate features, same radiant smile. The date on the album, 1923. We had the photo analyzed, Morrison continues. It's not Maya, but the resemblance is uncanny. The bride's name was Isabella Vasquez, your great-grandmother, Elena. She disappeared on her honeymoon cruise in the Mediterranean. The ship was called the Seraphina's Dream. The room spins around me. That's impossible. The Seraphina is a modern ship. It was built in 2019. But it was built on the site of a much older ship. The original Seraphina's Dream sank in 1923 after a fire broke out during what survivors described as a pagan ritual performed by crew members. 37 people died, including 6 newlywed couples. My great-grandmother's face stares up at me from the photograph, and suddenly I understand why Maya looked so familiar to me on that cruise. Why I felt compelled to follow them, to document their story. Webb wasn't just a disturbed crew member, Morrison explains. He was part of something that's been going on for a century. Every time they build a new ship on that route, the tradition continues. They target couples who match certain physical characteristics, couples who resemble the original victims. She pulls out a final photograph, a group shot of the Seraphina's senior crew. In the back row, partially hidden by shadows, I see a face that makes my blood freeze. It's Webb, but the photograph is dated 1987. Next to it, another photo from 1952. Same face, same cold eyes, same predatory smile. Either Marcus Webb is immortal, Morrison says, or this goes deeper than one madman's obsession. That night I'm in my hotel room, staring at the wedding ring I found in my jacket pocket. The ring that shouldn't exist, because I watched Maya Chen disappear into the Mediterranean Sea 18 months ago. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number, Pier 7, midnight. Come alone. I know I shouldn't go. Every instinct tells me this is a trap. But I also know I'll never sleep again if I don't find out the truth. Pier 7 is abandoned, shrouded in fog that rolls off the harbor like ghostly fingers. I wait, my camera ready, my heart hammering against my ribs. She emerges from the mist like a vision. Maya Chen, alive, wearing the same wedding dress from that night on the ship. But something is wrong with her eyes, they're older now, holding depths of knowledge that no 28-year-old should possess. You were there, she says, her voice carrying an odd, musical quality. You witnessed the ceremony. Maya. How are you? Where have you been? Everyone thinks you're dead. She smiles, and it's beautiful and terrifying at once. Death is such a limited concept, don't you think? The sea doesn't kill, Elena. It transforms. Behind her, other figures step out of the fog. David is there, but like Maya, he's changed. His eyes hold the same ancient knowing. And beside them, couples I recognize from old newspaper clippings, the missing honeymooners from decades past, all perfectly preserved, all bearing that same otherworldly presence. Marcus showed us the truth, Maya continues. The sea has been calling to us for generations, choosing those whose love burns brightest. We're not victims, Elena. We're the chosen ones. But the ritual, the violence, was necessary. The old ways require sacrifice, but not death. Transformation. We tried to resist at first, but the sea's call is irresistible. Now we serve a greater purpose. She extends her hand toward me, and I see that her wedding ring matches the one in my pocket perfectly. Your great-grandmother Isabella sends her regards, Maya says. She's been waiting to meet you. From deeper in the fog comes a figure in a 1920s wedding dress, her face exactly like mine but bearing that same ageless quality. She nods at me with recognition, with love, with an invitation that chills me to the bone. Every century, a new vessel is chosen, Maya explains. A new Seraphina to carry on the covenant. And every century, a witness is selected to document the choosing, to ensure the stories survive. She places something in my hand, a small, coral-carved pendant shaped like a ship. The new Seraphina launches next month, she says. Mediterranean route, Barcelona to Rome. The passenger manifest is already being prepared. Young couples, beautiful couples, couples whose love makes them perfect vessels for transformation. The fog begins to thicken, and the figures start to fade back into it. You have a choice, Elena, Maya calls, her voice growing distant. Document the truth, or become part of it. But know this, the sea remembers everything, and it never stops calling. 2 weeks later I sit in my apartment, staring at my laptop screen. The cursor blinks at the end of my story, waiting for me to decide how it ends. On my desk lies the coral pendant, warm to the touch despite the cold morning air. My phone rings. The caller ID shows Mediterranean Cruise Lines. Ms. Vasquez. This is Captain Rodriguez from the Seraphina Eternal. We understand you're a travel blogger, and we'd like to offer you a complimentary passage on our maiden voyage next week. Barcelona to Rome, 7 days of luxury. I look at the pendant again. In the morning light, I can see tiny figures carved into its surface, couples dancing on a ship's deck, their faces turned toward the sea with expressions of pure joy. Ms. Vasquez. Are you there? Yes, I whisper. I'm here. Through my apartment window, I can see the harbor. The fog is rolling in, and somewhere in its depths, I swear I can hear music, the sound of a wedding waltz played on instruments that haven't existed for 100 years. The pendant grows warmer in my palm. I'll take the passage, I tell the captain. But I have one condition. I need to document everything. Every passenger, every story, every moment. For research purposes. Of course, Ms. Vasquez. We'll prepare the journalist's suite for you. Deck 13, overlooking the stern. You'll have the perfect view of everything. As I hang up the phone, I notice my reflection in the window has changed. My eyes hold something new, a depth that wasn't there before, an understanding of currents that run deeper than any ocean. The sea is calling, and I finally understand that some stories can only be told from within. But first, I need to warn someone. Anyone. Everyone. I open my laptop and begin typing. The wedding ring was still warm when I found it in my jacket pocket. Outside, the fog thickens, and the music grows louder.